A tremor, a burning need inside, an insatiable thirst that no drop of pleasure can quench. You give in, you repeat, you promise it's the last time, and you fail. Are you battling an endless addiction? Discover the true cause behind your compulsion. Think of your cycle, that frantic search for something that calms, that numbs, that fills. Be it the cold screen, the substance, the rampant consumption, the incessant approval. The relief is a breath, and the emptiness, an abyss. What happens when your addiction isn't the root of your pain, but just a desperate cry from a wounded soul? When compulsion is a shadow dancing in the light of unhealed trauma. Gabor Mate, the master who unveiled the connection between addiction and trauma, already warned, the question is not why the addiction, but why the pain. The submerged pain that screams for relief and finds the falsity of escape. The pain is an underground river, running invisibly beneath your surface, shaping each of your compulsions. Your body begs for more. Your mind craves control. But you feel dragged, a puppet moved by the invisible strings of a past that refuses to be forgotten. Discipline erodes. Frustration mounts. Life becomes a sequence of broken promises, like fragments of a shattered mirror. Addiction is a prison, built with the stones of your oldest wounds, fueled by the fear of feeling. It is not your main enemy. It is the silent evidence of a much larger inner battle. If this provocation hit you at your most vulnerable core, if you feel the invisible chains of compulsion tightening around your soul, this video is a brutal mirror, ready to break the illusions that bind you, ready to face the root of your compulsion. You weren't born to be addicted. You were born with the capacity to feel and process pain, to seek connection and meaning through authentic paths. But you were programmed for escape, for numbness, for the belief that pain is an enemy to be avoided at all costs, even if it means destruction. From childhood, the world whispered the lie. Be strong. Don't cry. Swallow what you feel. Distract yourself. Society, through media, family, education, taught you to repress emotions, to hide your wounds, to seek relief from external sources that promise instant happiness but deliver only a mirage. Your nervous system was molded for fight, flight, or freeze in the face of discomfort, transforming unprocessed pain into a silent engine for compulsion. This is behavioral engineering in its cruelest form. A system that trains you to react instead of heal, to mask instead of feel. That rewards you for ignoring what cries out for attention, stealing your emotional autonomy. Think of the intermittent positive reinforcement of dopamine spikes, the brief pleasure of addiction, consumption, the screen. Each of these stimuli validates your escape, reinforcing the belief that the surface is enough, keeping you chained to compulsion. And behavioral finance bias brutally enters here. The addiction industry in all its forms, substances, gambling, pornography, shopping, social media, capitalizes on your unprocessed pain. It sells the solution to the emptiness it helps create. You spend your money, your time, your vital energy on products and experiences that promise relief, but which in reality deepen the wounds of trauma, keeping you trapped in the cycle of dependence. It's an investment in your own destruction disguised as freedom, a transaction where your soul is the currency. Robert Cialdini, in his Laws of Persuasion, shows how social proof, everyone is using this to feel good, and scarcity, last dose of relief, are used to manipulate your perception. They sell the illusion of a pain-free life, but the price is your silent self-destruction. You were indoctrinated to love your glittering chains because they promise false comfort, a refuge from the brutal truth that is the root of your suffering. You feel a deep pain, a chilling echo in the void of your own soul, a sense that something essential has shattered, broken into 1,000 fragments, even with a life that, to the outside world, seems cohesive and controlled. Your mind is a minefield, where repressed memories and emotions explode into anxiety, guilt, and a desperate need for fulfillment. This is your internal fragmentation, the price of your soul surrendered to addiction as a false compass, a desperate attempt to navigate the darkness of unprocessed trauma. The shadow, according to Carl Jung, is the dark side you exiled. Not the one that doesn't exist, but the one locked away in the dungeon of the unconscious. Your vulnerability, your unwept sorrow, your silenced rage, your most primal fear. All this has been repressed, pushed into a deep, dark abyss in the name of a strong, immune, flawless identity. And what you repress commands you from the shadows, a cruel puppeteer. It sabotages you in ways you don't even perceive. Self-destructive patterns that repeat, a relentless search for relief that never arrives, a cycle of regret and shame that traps you. Addiction is not the choice. It is the silent evidence that the shadow, with its unseen pain, has taken control, pulling your most sensitive strings. Gabor Mate explains that the trauma is not just the event, but what happens inside you in the absence of a compassionate witness. Unprocessed pain, unfelt, unaccepted, becomes a black hole that sucks your energy and focus. The pathological pursuit of relief, of instant gratification, is a desperate attempt to cope with this pain, creating a vicious cycle where your own ability to discern what is healing and what is poison atrophies. You project your shadow onto those who judge your addiction, onto those who point fingers, onto those who shout, lack of character. Because seeing your own pain in them means confronting yours. It means dismantling the illusion of your own unshakable strength, revealing the wound that cries out for attention. Your identity becomes compulsion itself. You are not who you are. You are the person that addiction allows you to be, a puppet of pain hiding behind apparent normality. While your soul screams for healing and freedom, how much of your life is spent maintaining this facade of control? In feeding an addiction that deep down is a river of unwept tears, of unwitnessed grief? If this truth provoked you, if you feel the invisible cracks of your soul opening, comment below. I choose my healing, not addiction. You seek freedom, but why do you feel so empty? Trapped in a cycle of dependence, even with the freedom of choice in every sphere of your life, with infinite options that gleam and promise fulfillment. The freedom they promised you was pleasure, instant gratification. But addiction stole even the ability to truly feel, to experience joy without the need for the next dose, the next stimulus, the freedom to consume, to use, to escape. But compulsion chained you to a relentless pursuit, to a routine of regret that seems insurmountable, like a sticky, dark web. This is false freedom, a prison of euphoria where control is an illusion and existential emptiness deepens with every attempt to escape, every broken promise, every shattered dream at the invisible hand of dependence. The system sells you the illusion of mastery over pleasure, of the ability to use and stop whenever you want. It transforms your need for meaning and connection into a dopamine trap, into fleeting spikes of ephemeral relief that dissipate into the air, leaving a trail of shame and frustration, an endless cycle. Think of the quick fix for addiction industry. It doesn't need to force you to be sick. It just needs to offer a constant flow of magic pills, instant therapies, gurus who promise healing without the deep dive into pain. And profit flows, dripping from your anguish and your desperate search for relief. This is addiction capitalism. It profits from your unprocessed pain, from your compulsion, from your inability to cope with raw reality. Your health, your peace, your purpose, all monetized by the engine of fleeting pleasure that traps you. Behavioral finance bias operates here brutally. How many times have you found yourself spending fortunes on substances, gambling, compulsive shopping, or on programs that promise to solve your addiction overnight, just to silence the cry of your trauma? The search for immediate relief and aversion to pain shape your finances, transforming money, which should be a means to true freedom, into fuel for your own prison. Daniel Kahneman taught us about present bias, the preference for a reward now, even if the long-term cost is your life. And addiction is the master of this bias, keeping you in a state of incessant pursuit of gratification, of avoiding any step that demands the painful confrontation with the root of pain. You are not deciding. You are obeying the voice of compulsion, the script of escape that the system gave you. To maintain the illusory order of your restricted world, the stability of your own pleasure prison, the manufactured peace of your addicted mind, but true freedom. It doesn't hide in the next dose. It is conquered in the pain that is felt, in the truth that is accepted, in the courage to face the wounds of the past and forge an authentic future. Rupture is not abstinence. It is the courage to feel. It is when you realize that true strength lies not in fighting addiction, but in diving into the depths of the pain that drives it, into the wounds that cry out for healing. Authentic reconstruction begins in the silence of your self-acceptance, in the courage to allow unwept tears to flow, silenced rage to find a voice, unprocessed fear to be felt. This stillness is what compulsion fears most, because it prevents escape and demands a deeper surrender to your truth. Gabor Maté shows us, the root of addiction is the trauma of disconnection. It's the belief that your worth depends on your ability to hide pain, to be strong all the time. The incessant pursuit of external relief is a flight from the authentic self. The cure is reconnection with your integrity, with the ability to embrace your vulnerability as a portal to healing. It is the silent strength that emerges when you stop fighting yourself and begin to love yourself unconditionally. This is true disobedience. Disobeying the culture that wants you addicted, the script of escape that the system insists on selling. Disobeying your own self-sabotage. It is an act of radical surrender to your own authenticity, to your ability to be human with all your scars. It is a choice, an existential choice, to abandon the false security of ephemeral pleasure, of the comfort zone of addiction that immobilizes you, for the uncertainty of healing, for the risk of living fully, for the vast landscape of your own soul that yearns for freedom, an autonomy that is priceless, because it costs your identity as an addict and returns you that of a soul warrior. Jordan Peterson talks about the order that emerges from taking responsibility for inner chaos, of facing your addiction not as a moral failure, but as a map to your unhealed wounds. Your life is not a cycle of relapses, but a journey of redemption, where every courageous step is a victory over the past. You will lose the fear of feeling. You will stop sabotaging yourself with the incessant search for relief, because there will be no part of you hidden in the abyss of denial. No vital energy wasted feeding compulsion. Your soul, free from invisible chains. This is freedom. Not the freedom to control the next dose, but the freedom to heal the pain that drives it. To live with purpose, with presence, without the slavery of addiction, without the invisible shackles of trauma. Block 6. Emotional payoff and buzz. Ritual. Your addiction is not the problem. The root of trauma in modern society. Maté. Are you battling an endless addiction? Discover the true cause behind your compulsion. Break free from the cycle of addiction by healing the deep wounds of your past. True freedom lies not in fighting compulsion, but in diving into the pain that drives it, into the wounds that cry out for healing and acceptance. How is addiction a desperate attempt to cope with the unprocessed pain of trauma? It is the silent scream of your fragmented soul, seeking relief in paths that imprison it further. You are not your addiction. You are not your trauma. You are not your compulsion. You are a consciousness capable of healing, of freedom, of wholeness, capable of integrating pain and emerging complete beyond the shackles that bound you. The price of freedom is not speech, but the courage to break the silence the system imposed on you, the courage to feel, to accept, to allow vulnerability to be your greatest portal to healing. Choose your healing. Even if it means revisiting the shadows of the past, even if it leads you to uncomfortable places in your soul. This is your deepest freedom, to be who you truly are, beyond addiction, beyond the trauma that dominated you, beyond the prison of escape. If something awakened in you in this video, if the chains of compulsion seemed to break in your hands, comment. I see beyond the veil of addiction. And to help you begin your journey of healing and liberation from trauma, Gabor Maté's book, The Myth of Normal, is your next step. Link in description. Link in. Share this content with anyone living trapped in the illusion of escape and seeking a real path to healing. And if you want to keep breaking cycles with me, subscribe now. The shadow you avoid controls you. Freedom only frightens until you discover you were ready all along. Rupture is the beginning. Consciousness is the path to your authentic healing.